Hey everybody, what is going on? Hexlex here. I got another Master Duel video for you, coming at you with our long-awaited combo guide for Yummy. Now, in Master Duel, the Yummy Snatchy as well as Marshmallow Yummy are coming in semi-limited. This, in combination with cards like Borreload Savage Dragon and Sky Striker Ace Camellia being legal, means that even if you're used to playing this deck in the TCG, knowing the Master Duel specific combo lines are going to be pretty important. So whether you're new to this deck or not, hopefully this guide will help you out a little bit. And hopefully this long-awaited guide, you didn't have to wait quite as long for it, because if you're a YouTube member, by clicking that join button next to the subscribe button, you get to see all uploads as soon as they go up, which can be days, sometimes even up to a week in advance. I also have some members exclusive videos, and you'll get thanked at the end credits of every single video. So now that we've got that out of the way, I'm going to go ahead and start diving into the combo lines. We're going to cover both Pure and Mitsurugi Yummy, because I think those are going to be both the most popular and most powerful iterations of this deck. So let's not waste any more time, and let's get right on into it. So we're going to start off with the main combo line for Pure Yummy, and this can be achieved with any Yummy monster from your main deck, as well as any other card in your deck, period. It doesn't matter which of the Yummy monsters you open, as long as it's got Yummy in the name, then you are good to go for your full turn 1 combo. I'm going to start with Cookie Yummy, just to show a sort of like not great example. I think Cupsy Yummy would be the best thing to open, but I'll show you how even if you open a not ideal Yummy monster like Cookie, you're still going to be able to full combo. So we're going to start off here by normal summoning our Yummy monster and then linking it into the Yummy Snatchy. This will allow us to then activate its effect, placing the Yummy's minion from our deck to the field. Now that we have a Link 1 monster and this field spell in play, we can use the field spell's effect to revive the Yummy monster from our graveyard. At this point, we get to Synchro Summon because remember, the Yummy Synchro monsters can treat any Link 1 monster as a level 1 tuner. Now, Cupsy Yummy Way will let us add 2 Yummy monsters from deck to hand, then send a card. That's why we are going to have this random extra card in our hand to discard for this effect. Okay. So if you did not open Cupsy Yummy or Marshmallow Yummy, you always want to search these two. These are going to be your 2 most important main deck Yummy monsters. So if you did not open them, again, search both of these. If you did open one of these 2 monsters, then you could just grab the Cookie Yummy instead. So we're going to special summon the Cupsy Yummy by its effect, and then it will allow us to add the Yummy Surprise from deck to hand. If you started your combo line with Cupsy Yummy, you would still just add the Yummy Surprise anyway, and then do the same steps in the same order I showed you. We can special summon the Marshmallow Yummy with its effect, and now we're going to Synchro Summon for the Shamisen Samsara Sorrow Cat. Now, if you're used to playing this deck with 3 Yummy Snatchy, you're probably wondering, wait, shouldn't it be Martial Metal Marcher? But no, if Yummy Snatchy is semi-limited, which of course it is now in Master Duel, you're going to want to summon this instead, and you'll see why here in a moment. But we're not even going to Synchro Summon first. We're actually going to link our 2 monsters into Sky Striker Ace Camellia. This is going to look really weird, but it's going to make sense in just a moment, because Camellia allows us to, once per turn, send a Sky Striker card from our deck to the graveyard. We can do that to send away Hornet Drones, then we can link our Camellia away for the Kagari. Now Kagari's effect is going to add the Hornet Drones from deck to hand, which will then activate to get a level 1 tuner, or non-tuner token monster. You might think, oh, Link 1 monster, level 1 non-tuner, we're going to make Lollipo Yummy Way next, right? Actually, no. We're going to insulate our board to be better against Nibiru at this point. So what we're going to do is we're going to activate the effect of our Shamisen Samsara Cat from the graveyard. By putting back the Cupsy Yummy Way into our extra deck, it can special summon itself. And now we can Synchro Summon for Herald of the Arclight, which will not only provide a sort of Omni negate, but also a Floodgate type effect going into our opponent's next turn. Now, in order to continue our Yummy plays, we're going to use Yummy Surprise in order to revive the Marshmallow Yummy in our graveyard. Then we can use Marshmallow Yummy's effect in order to return the Yummy Surprise to our hand, which is a really cool mechanic that you'll be doing a lot with Marshmallow Yummy. Just being able to Surprise, summon Marshmallow, add back Surprise, and then you can still use Surprise on your opponent's next turn. So now we're going to synchro summon the Marshmallow plus the Kagari into the Lollipo Yumiway. Lollipo Yumiway is going to revive Cupsy and Marshmallow from our graveyard, and then we can link away the Cupsy into the Yummy Snatchy, and then we're going to set the Yummy Surprise. So this is what your turn 1 end board is going to look like. You'll have the Yummy Snatchy to do synchro summons with, the Marshmallow and Lollipo Yumiway as materials. Of course, also Lollipo Yumiway will have its effect, Herald of the Arclight, and Yummy Surprise. However, rather than just leave it here, why don't I show you exactly how to use these disruptions and how we're going to go into stuff in our extra deck like Borreload Savage Dragon. So, going into our opponent's turn, let's say they go to activate any card or effect, right? That will be the trigger for us to use the Lollipo Yumiway's effect, which can tribute itself, or rather return itself to the extra deck, and then special summon 2 of the Yummy monsters from our graveyard. Yummy Snatchy and Cupsy Yummy. Now remember that Lollipo Yumiway only negates the effects of special summoned Yummy monsters when it is synchro summoned. If you do this quick effect, the monsters you revive will not be negated. That means that we can go Cupsy Yummy as Chainlink 1 and then Yummy Snatchy as Chainlink 2 to chain block against Ash Blossom. Yummy Snatchy effect will resolve first, placing the new field spell Acroquee into our field zone. Then Chainlink 1 Cupsy Yummy will resolve, and we're not going to draw a card, we're actually going to instead add the Lollipo Yummy from our deck to our hand. So we can keep using our disruptions. We're going to use the Yummy Snatchy effect here, paying 100 life points to allow us to synchro summon on the opponent's turn, and we're actually going to re-summon the Lollipo Yumiway. Now this will let us revive 2 Yummy monsters, and also because we use the effect of because we synchro summoned a Light Beast synchro monster, now we can use the Acroquee to destroy a card on our opponent's field. So you can see in this example, right, we're able to pop the field spell as it's trying to resolve. So now we revive our 2 Yummy monsters from the graveyard. Remember, these will be negated because this was the synchro summon effect, but we're just going to activate Yummy Snatchy yet again, paying 100 life points to synchro summon again. Remember, that effect is once per chain, so you get to do it a lot during your opponent's turn, and we're going to do it multiple times in a row before our opponent has a chance to play any more cards. We're going to synchro summon for the Tatsunoko. Now, Tatsunoko is a level 3 synchro tuner that lets us use a monster in our hand as material. So that's why we used Cupsy Yummy to add Lollipo instead of drawing a card. Of course, if you already have Lollipo or another level 1 Yummy monster, you could consider just drawing a card instead. But now we get to pay 100, synchro summon again. We're going to go Tatsunoko plus the Lollipo Yummy in hand. Now we can summon Cupid Pitch. Cupid Pitch's effect will raise its level by 3, because that's the level of Tatsunoko. We'll pay 100, synchro again, and here is the Borreload Savage Dragon. So, Borreload Savage Dragon gets to activate as Chainlink 2, while Cupid Pitch as Chainlink 1 will let us search. We're going to equip the Camellia, because that gives us 2 Borrel counters instead of just 1. And then we can even search for a follow-up Marshmallow Yummy to go into our opponent's turn. So keep in mind, we still have the Herald of the Arclight Omni-Negate up this whole time. Now you also have the Borreload Savage Dragon Omni-Negate online as well. But let's say your opponent summoned another monster here. We can pay 100 with Yummy Snatchy to summon yet again. This time we're going to summon Cookie Yumiway. Cookie Yumiway, when synchro summoned, can turn up to 2 monsters on the field into face-down defense mode. And let's say your opponent activated another card or effect. You could activate Cookie Yumiway's effect to summon out 2 Yummy monsters from the graveyard. If one of those is the Cookie Yummy main deck monster, that can then destroy one of your opponent's face-up monsters on the field, offering even more disruption. But remember, you get 2 summons, so you could also revive Yummy Snatchy, and from there you could synchro summon a Cupsy Yumiway on your opponent's turn, which would then allow you to search even more follow-up. So that's an example, right, of how you would play out the disruption during your opponent's turn. Now, obviously, the Yummy opponent we have here was just not, using all of their effects, but I more than anything wanted to just show examples of how to summon out the Borreload Savage Dragon and, again, use these disruptions. So now that we've established that, let's look at some more combo lines and see how we can combo with other hands. Okay, so in the first combo line I showed you, we used Camellia to dump Hornet Drones and then add it back mid-combo, but Hornet Drones actually also acts as a starter, meaning you can also use Sky Striker Engage to search it, and that will count as a starter. So if you open Hornet Drones and have any other card in your hand, you can do the following. We're going to begin by activating the Hornet Drones, getting a token, and then we can link away that token into Kagari. Kagari is going to add the Hornet Drones back, and now we can summon a token. So again, we have a Link 1 monster and a level 1 non-tuner token. During the last combo line, at this point, we revived the Shamisen Samsara Cat from the graveyard and made Herald of the Arclight. Obviously, we haven't gotten nearly that far yet here, so instead for this one, we're going to go straight into the Cupsy Way using those two Sky Striker monsters. Now, Cupsy Way, as always, is going to add Cupsy and Marshmallow, because we didn't open with either of these, and we'll send away the other random card in our hand. We can then special summon Cupsy, adding the Yummy Surprise, summon Marshmallow next. Now we're going to link off into Yummy Snatchy. This is our first copy of this that we've summoned, remember. We're going to use the effect in order to place the Mignon. Mignon will revive the Marshmallow from our graveyard. And now we're going to Secret Summon not only into the Shamisen Samsara Cat, but then immediately into Herald of the Arclight. As always, it's important to get your negates up as soon as possible. Granted, Yummy's actually pretty good at playing through negates, and I'll show you how later on. Or not necessarily negates, but hand traps in general, as well as negates. But yeah, definitely having the Herald ASAP is pretty important. So now we can go Yummy Surprise. Yummy Surprise revives the Marshmallow. Marshmallow effect wheels back the Yummy Surprise hand. Now we can Synchro Summon for Lollipo. Lollipo's going to summon Cupsy and Marshmallow. Then we can link into the second Snatchy, set the Yummy Surprise, and as you can see, this is literally the exact same end board that our other line got us to. You just have to, again, do it in a little bit of a different order. But yeah, the Hornet Drones line doesn't change too much with the Yummy Snatchy being semi-limited, since you would normally only go into 2 copies anyway. But if you're used to playing with Martial Metal Marcher, then of course you gotta summon the Sorrow Cat instead. And Sorrow Cat's effect is actually still live in our graveyard. You could put it on your end board here if you really wanted to, but that's up to you, either way. Let's show you the next combo line here. Alright, so one of the really cool things about Yummy is that this deck is actually insanely good at playing right through Nibiru. It almost doesn't affect you at all, but I'll show you how to actually maneuver that and what's going to change about your end board if you do get hit with a Nibiru. So we're just going to do the regular pure Yummy combo line, the main line that I showed right at the start of the video, and I'll show you the point at which we're going to get nibbed and how to then pivot. So once again, summon our Yummy monster, go into Snatchy, Snatchy from Mignon, Mignon revive the Yummy monster, Synchro into Cupsy, Cupsy effect to add the Cupsy Yummy from deck as well as Marshmallow. Now, when you summon the Cupsy Yummy, this is actually your 5th summon. So at this point, let's go ahead and add the surprise. At this point, now the Nibiru is live. But most people probably won't Nibiru you here, because you not only still have the Yummy surprise, but also the Marshmallow Yummy in hand. So from this point, you summon the Marshmallow Yummy, and then you Secret Summon in the Shamisen Samsara Cat. Now, at this point, you threaten to be able to make the Herald of the Arclight. And at this point is probably where you're going to get hit with the Nibiru. Now, in the line that I showed you, we link into Camellia at this point, but not everybody's going to know that. Plus, if you have an extender in hand, you might not even always want to do that. Sometimes it is best to make Herald of the Arclight here. It's kind of hand dependent, but either way, your opponent is going to drop a Nibiru on you probably at this stage here, while all you have is the surprise that you searched. So they get nibbed, you get your token, but of course, we can always link away this token into the Link 1 Link Spider. Now we can go Yummy Surprise, revive Marshmallow, Marshmallow effect wheels the surprise back to hand, and we can still Synchro Summon for our Lollipo Yummy Way, because in pretty much every single combo line, we summon Herald of the Arclight before we summon Lollipo Yummy Way, and that is really crucial to playing through Nibiru, because it's not just a matter of oh, you have the Link Link Spider that you get off the token plus any body, and you're good to go. If you Lollipo Yummy Way before that point, and then you get hit with Nibiru, you won't really have the ability to extend into your full combo. So you always want to make sure, whenever possible, which should be every single time, that you're summoning Herald of the Arclight before Lollipo Yummy Way. Unless, of course, you get nibbed and you're in this spot. So now Lollipo Yummy Way can activate. We can revive Cupsy and Marshmallow. And at this stage, there's a couple of different ways you could play it. Let me go back a step here, actually, before we link off. So this is where the timeline kind of splits here, right? You can do one of two things. You could either turn Cupsy Yummy into Snatchy, set Surprise, and then pass, basically giving up on Herald of the Arclight because you got hit with Nibiru. But if you would rather end on Herald of the Arclight still, you can, and here's how. We're gonna, as you saw, link off the Lollipo Yummy Way for our Snatchy. Again, you could just link away the Cupsy Yummy if you wanted and keep Lollipo Yummy Way, but instead we're gonna link it off for Yummy Snatchy, and now we can use the Graveyard effect of our Shamisen Samsara Sarocat. This will let us actually put back the Lollipo Yummy Way into our extra deck to be able to summon on the opponent's turn and revive itself. Now we have the ability to Synchro Summon for that Herald of the Arclight, and then we'll set the Surprise, and this is the end board for if you get hit with Nibiru. Now again, if you wanted to, you could basically, instead of Herald of the Arclight, have Lollipo Yummy Way instead, and that would give you more materials to summon stuff during your opponent's turn. You could even summon the Herald of the Arclight on the opponent's turn. But if you'd rather have both the Floodgate and the Negate before your opponent has a chance to really do anything, then you could do this method that I showed you to still end on your turn 1 Herald of the Arclight. Now, as long as I'm showing you how to play around hand traps, let me go ahead and demonstrate the line for if you get hit with Fuwalos, because Yummy, while it looks like a really extensive combo deck, actually plays super well into Fuwalos. So in this, hypothetical hand, we've got our Yummy monster, our opponent's got the Fuwalos. Let's say they just throw it out right away during the draw phase, right? You can still set up a pretty solid board, and with this line, with any Yummy monster, you'll only give them 2 draws. So here's what you do. Normal summon the Yummy monster, link into Snatchy, draw number 1, Snatchy effect, place the Minion. Minion's going to revive the Yummy monster from our graveyard. Now we go into Cupsy Yummy Way, that's going to be draw number 2. That searches the Cupsy Yummy as well as the Marshmallow Yummy. We're going to summon the Cupsy Yummy, add Surprise, summon Marshmallow Yummy, and then we can just set Surprise, and we can honestly just pass at that point. It looks weird not having the Snatchy on board, but remember, we have multiple ways of getting access to it during our opponent's turn. We can either use the Yummy Surprise that we set in order to revive the Yummy Snatchy from our graveyard, or we can even use Cupsy Yummy Way's effect to revive it instead. Because remember, we have Snatchy and whatever Yummy monster we opened with still in the graveyard. The big drawback here is that you don't get to end on Herald of the Arclight going into your opponent's turn, but you can still make it on the opponent's turn, and you can still set up all kinds of disruptions. This is still, keep in mind, this is still the setup for the other field spell, which destroys. Cookie Yummy also destroys. We have the Yummy Surprise again to go into stuff like Herald of the Arclight. You could still go into Cookie Yummy Way to turn stuff face down. You're still looking at not only multiple disruptions, but multiple options for disruption, even with this minimalist board. But if you open specifically Cupsy Yummy, you can actually only give them 1 draw. So this is the only hand where I'm going to show you opening Cupsy Yummy in particular, because if your opponent hits you with a Fuwalos and you open Cupsy Yummy, you can actually still end on multiple disruptions, giving them only 1 draw. So we'll go to normal summon Cupsy Yummy, activate the effect, and then let's just say they throw out Fuwalos at some point, right? Ignore the triple attack in hand, this is all hypothetical. So let's say they draw phase Fuwalos us. We normal summon Cupsy Yummy, we add the Yummy Surprise, we link into Yummy Snatchy, that's going to be their 1 draw. Yummy Snatchy places the Minion, Minion's going to revive the Cupsy Yummy from graveyard. Now we're going to set Yummy Surprise, and we're just going to pass. That doesn't look like a lot, right? However, consider that we have the ability to go into the Cookie Yummy Way to turn stuff face down. We could go into Cupsy Yummy Way as well if we wanted to search more stuff to hand. Then we could use Yummy Surprise, revive the Yummy Snatchy, go into Tatsunoko, start Synchro Summoning from our hand. At that point, we could summon Herald of the Arclight anyway, or I think that would be enough to still climb up to board load Savage, you might be one body short there. But moral of the story is this is still like 3-4 negates, and not only did we only give our opponent one draw off Fuwalos, which is just breaking even, it's kind of like nothing happened in that regard. Keep in mind, we still have the other 4 cards in our hand in this scenario. So any hand traps that you might have opened or anything like that will still be able to stop your opponent going into their turn. So Yummy does play pretty well into not only Nibiru, but as you can see here, the Fuwalos as well. Alright, I've shown you the pure Yummy combo lines. Now I'm going to show you Mitsurugi Yummy combo lines. Of all the variants of Yummy, not only is this one the strongest, besides maybe from Pure, could be even stronger than Pure though, but the semi-limit of Yummy Snatchy actually doesn't really affect your combo lines at all for the Mitsurugi variant. So here's how opening any Yummy monster plus any other card in hand will end on a full Yummy and Mitsurugi end board. We're going to start by normal summoning our Yummy monster, and then we'll link off into Snatchy. Snatchy effect will place Mignon. Mignon revives the Yummy monster. We're then going to sink into Cupsy Yummy Way. Cupsy Yummy Way is going to add both the Cupsy and Marshmallow. Then Cupsy Yummy is going to add Surprise, summon Marshmallow. Now we're going to synchro summon into the Shamisen Samsara Saracat. This time, however, we're going to be doing things a little bit differently than the Pure line. We're actually going to synchro summon into Herald of the Arclight right away. And it is crucial, it is vital, it is so important. You have to put this in the extra monster zone, because that's what lets us link away for Gravity Controller. Gravity Controller is a link one that can be link summoned with any non-link monster that is in the extra monster zone. So that's why we had to put Herald up there in order to be able to do this combo line. So now that we've linked away the Herald, not only do we have a Link 1 monster on the board, but we just sent Herald of the Arclight to the graveyard, which means we can add any ritual monster or ritual spell card from our deck to our hand. Let's go ahead and add the Habakiri. So you might be thinking, okay, I'm a seasoned Mitsurugi player. At this point, you just do the regular Mitsurugi stuff, right? Actually wrong, because even if you're used to playing Mitsurugi, you have to do things in a little bit of a different order that you might be used to doing here. So we're going to activate Habakiri, we're going to summon Saji, Saji is going to tribute itself off the Habakiri effect, and then activate for the ritual. That's all pretty standard. Normally here, you would activate ritual to summon Habakiri from hand first, in like any other Mitsurugi deck. In Mitsurugi Yummy, however, we're going to activate Ritual and we're going to summon from our deck first. We're going to send the Habakiri in our hand and summon Murakumo from our deck. Now we can do Habakiri effect to add Mitsurugi Mirror. You're going to want to add the other ritual spell, Mirror, but we're going to use it later. For now, we're going to pivot back into Yummy plays. We're going to activate Yummy Surprise, reviving the Marshmallow Yummy. Marshmallow Yummy, of course, will add the surprise back to hand. And now we can synchro for the Lollipo. Lollipo is going to summon back Cupsy and Marshmallow. Now, at this point, we get to do something kind of clever here. I'm going to rewind because it got a little ahead of me there. But we are going to... Where is the synchro summon here? Or not the synchro summon, sorry. We're going to activate from our graveyard the effect of the Shamisen Samsara Saracat that we already synchro summoned and made Herald with. We're going to use the effect, put Herald of the Arclight back from our graveyard into the extra deck to summon it. And then now we can just summon Herald all over again. So this is how you use Herald to set up your Mitsurugi plays while still ending on it on turn 1. Alright, from here we're going to use Mitsurugi Mirror, send off the Habakiri, or sorry, the Murakumo to summon Habakiri, and that'll let us add the prayers from deck to hand. Now Murakumo will summon itself back, and we can actually link away one of our Yummy monsters, the Cups Yummy in this case, whichever main deck one you still have on board, link it away with the Habakiri in order to summon the IP Masquerada. Set your 2 remaining cards, and this is what your turn 1 end board looks like for the Mitsurugi Yummy. So, as you can see, we still have Lollipo, Herald, and Yummy Surprise. We ended on those with Pure Yummy, but this adds Murakumo, as well as Prayers for the Negate and Board Wipe special. And we even have the IP Masquerada as well. So we can make SP Little Knight, we can make Dynamundo, whatever IP target you have in mind, we can also go for. So, quite a bit of a stronger end board in some respects. Of course, the Pure Yummy line also has its own pros and cons, but we'll talk about that a little bit more towards the end in the deck breakdown. But yeah, this is the combo line for any Yummy monster plus any other card into full Yummy Mitsurugi end board. But like any good Mitsurugi deck, you'll want a way to go not only your other engine into Mitsurugi, but ideally also Mitsurugi into your other engine. So if you open Habakiri plus any other monster, here's how to end on your full Mitsurugi and Yummy end board. We're going to start by activating the Habakiri effect here, and we'll summon Saji from deck, then tribute it. Saji effect will activate, we'll add the Ritual. Just like last time, we're going to activate Ritual, and we're going to summon Murakumo from deck first, tributing the Habakiri from hand. Again, in other Mitsurugi decks, you're probably used to summoning Habakiri from hand first off the Ritual, but in Yummy, we want to summon the Murakumo first. So we're going to summon Murakumo from deck. Habakiri is going to activate. We're going to add Mirror. We'll activate Mirror, tribute Murakumo, summon Habakiri. Murakumo is going to activate, add prayers, and summon itself. Now, at this point, you might be wondering how we go into the Yummy portion of our deck. And it's going to be a little bit RNG dependent, but I'm going to show you how it is possible. We're going to need to make the Zombie Vampire, and it's going to need to made exactly in the extra monster zone. A lot of you can probably already see where this is going, but we want to use Zombie Vampire, and all we need to hit is any level 1 non-tuner monster. It doesn't even have to be a Yummy monster. As long as it's a level 1 non-tuner, we're good to go. So I kind of rigged the decks here for like unoptimal mills. Unoptimal, but still possible to combo. So let's just say you mill a bunch of off-engine, but one of them happens to be Droll and Lockbird. Or not even us. Let's say our opponent milled their Droll and Lockbird. We can summon it to our field, and because we put Zombie Vampire in the EMZ, in the extra monster zone, we can link it away for Gravity Controller. Remember, whatever monster is in the EMZ, what has to be there in the extra monster zone to be linked away for Gravity Controller. If it's in the main monster zone, you cannot summon Gravity Controller. That is very, very important. But now we have our Link 1 monster, as well as our level 1 non-tuner, which means we can Synchro Summon for Cupsy Yummy Way. That'll let us search for Cupsy Yummy and Marshmallow. We can use Cupsy Yummy to add the Surprise, Marshmallow summon itself, go into Yummy Snatchy, Snatchy place Mignon. Mignon effect will bring back the Cupsy, Sorrow Cat, and then Lollipo at this point. Last time we used the Sorrow Cat to make Herald of the Arclight to go into our Mitsurugi stuff, but of course this time we don't have to worry about that because we already did our Mitsurugi stuff. So the Lollipo Yummy is going to revive R2, then we can make Herald. Yummy Surprise revives the Marshmallow, and then we can add back the Yummy Surprise before making the IP and then setting 2. So remember, we're not necessarily ending on snatching the EMZ with the Mitsurugi variant. We have the ability to go into IP. So it's pretty much the exact same end board as the other line. Obviously, the main difference is that you don't end with Murakumo on your field, but that's not even a big deal at all, because we can just use prayers to revive it, get the board wipe, and then you have the negate anyway. So seasoned Mitsurugi players know that ending on Murakumo with, or rather ending on set prayers with or without the Murakumo tends to make relatively little difference. But yeah, that is the end board for going Habakiri into your full Mitsurugi plus Yummy line. Alright, so now that I've shown you the combo lines, let's talk about deck list. This is going to be my day 1 deck list for pure Yummy. Again, remember that Yummy Snatchy and Marshmallow Yummy are semi-limited coming into Master Duel. On top of that, Hornet Drones and Herald of the Arclight are at 1, and Obedience Schooled is banned. So that's why the deck list looks the way it does. So we have our 11 total main deck Yummy monsters. Remember, opening each of those plus any other card is full combo, as well as Hornet Drones. So that's inherently 12 1.5, but again, really any card. It's practically 1 card starters for your turn 1 plays. So that's already pretty impressive right off the bat. I've added a couple of other ones here to the pure build to add a little bit more consistency. A couple of copies of Engage to fetch the Hornet Drones, and Puri Ree's map, which can actually search out the Cupsy Yummy, which has 0 attack points. So that makes a total of 16 again, technically 1.5, but pretty much for turn 1 card starters, which for a 40 card deck is really, really good. The only not off meta, I don't know why I said off meta, the only non-starter engine pieces we have are the 3 Yummy spell cards, the 2 field spells, and the surprise. So that's not too bad, all things considered, for engine requirements. And it leaves us a lot of room for non-engine. So for the non-engine, for the pure build, we actually have room for a total of 18 hand traps. We could even do 19 if you wanted to cut triple tack, but or even more if you want to cut stuff like Engage or Pure Rees map. But I still like having the starters and a way to deal with opponents' hand traps. So we're on 18 hand traps here, including a playset of Dominus Purge. Yummy is a Purge deck. There are some things you have to keep in mind, like the Sararcat as well as the Tatsunoko and the Borload Savage Dragon. There are some things that you won't be able to use if you Purge, but as far as like the Yummy stuff itself, all of that falls within the attributes of Dominus Purge. So you can play a playset of that as part of your hand trap suite. Now remember, again, that the Master Duel and TCG builds are going to be very different. That's why we're on stuff like Borload Savage Dragon, and you have the Sky Striker Ace Camellia as well. One important thing about Camellia is that it is actually pretty optional. You could choose to play Gravity Controller instead. You would just need to make your Sararcat in the extra monster zone, and then you could link it away for the Gravity Controller, and then use that to proceed with your combo line instead. I like Camellia more for a couple of reasons. The main one is that it's just kind of better in a vacuum, right? As it not only has the ability to use the graveyard effect as disruption potentially, but also when equipping to the Borload Savage Dragon, it gives you an extra Boral counter, which could very easily come up, right? So I think the Camellia is slightly better, but it's also a UR in Master Duel, so if you wanted to be more budget, you could play Gravity Controller instead. And this is going to be my build for the Mitsurugi variant of Yummy for day 1. So the main difference between, obviously, aside from the fact that we have Mitsurugi cards in here, is that we're not going to be playing quite as many of the Yummy main deck monsters. As you can see, I cut down to 2 Cookie and 1 Lollipo. And even though that means fewer starters on the Yummy side, remember that Mitsurugi has their own starters as well. So we have 8 Yummy main deck monsters as well as 3 Habakiri plus 3 Prayers plus 3 pre-prep makes 9 on the Mitsurugi side. 8 plus 9 is going to be a total of 17 starters for a 42 card deck. Is definitely not that bad. I definitely like being over 40 cards in Mitsurugi Yummy because we have quite a few things, particularly on the Mitsurugi side, that we're not like super trying to open with, like the Mirror and the Great Purification. But if you wanted to, you could even cut Great Purification, or even stuff like Kusanagi and Aramasa are actually really optional in this deck in particular. And then you could be at 40 and not have to worry about opening some of this other stuff. But I like having these options, and I don't think going up to 42 cards is really that big of an ask, so I think it's fine. We do have less room for hand traps because we're trying to accommodate the Mitsurugi stuff as well. We're on 14 for this build in particular, but again, 14 hand traps for a 42 card deck is not really that bad at all. The extra deck will be quite a bit different. Namely, we've got like IEP and its targets, including the new Gorgon of Zilophonia. I'm probably going to butcher that name multiple times, but the new Gorgon Link 3 is about to come out in this next pack as well. That'll be an IP target as well as Dynamundo and SP. We're playing Gravity Controller in this build, so that's another key difference, as well as Zombie Vampire is going to be the main way that we bridge from Mitsurugi into Yummy as shown in the combo line. So not as many synchro options, but of course we don't really need quite as many synchro options since we have the Mitsurugi stuff and the Link monsters to help us with the end board as well. So yeah, that's going to be it for the combo guide, as well as the day one builds for both this Mitsurugi variant and our pure variant that we showed as well. Thank you all so very much for watching. Super appreciate the support, especially from the Patreon subscribers and YouTube members. Remember, if you want to join as a member here on YouTube, not only is that a great way to support the channel, but you'll also get content like this early, as well as your name at the end of every single video. Patreon subscribers get access to their own exclusive content that is over on Patreon that is uploaded 3 times a week. So any support you want to offer is appreciated, but just watching and being subscribed here on YouTube, commenting, all that fun stuff, that is already hugely appreciated. So thank you so very much. But that is going to do it for now. Let's go ahead and move on to that outro so we can thank those extra special supporters. Hey everybody, Hexlex here. Thank you so very much for watching all the way to the very end of the video, which by the way is one of the best ways to support the channel. Speaking of supporting the channel, take a look at the names on screen. These are folks who have been so generous as to either join as a YouTube member or subscribe over on patreon.com/Hexlex to support. There's also perks for doing so. If you would like to see YouTube videos early, as well as some exclusive videos that get uploaded to YouTube, but for one reason or another I decide not to publish, definitely go ahead and hit that join button to see content early, as well as some exclusive content. If you're looking for more exclusive content, over on patreon.com, I upload exclusive videos that are not posted on YouTube just about every single day. Whether you choose to subscribe over on Patreon, join as a YouTube member, or simply continue to watch, your support is greatly appreciated. Thank you so very much. But for now, this is Hexlex. I am signing out, and I hope that you have a fantastic day.